this is video 2 of the junk journal that I'm making. I think I kind of contradicted myself in the first video. I kind of want to clarify. I had talked about putting my inserts in the book. First I said I wanted them to be decorated so that I would know how big to make the spine. And then I said, okay, I'm going to go ahead and attach these to the spine. And then, so I kind of made you think that I was going to decorate first and then put them in the book. Then I made it sound like I'm going to put them in the book and then decorate. I am going to put them in the book first and then decorate. I went with a 3-inch spine for these. If I just lay them out like this, that's at about 2. So I'm thinking 3 inches will be fine. I think it's going to be easier if I attach them to the spine first. So I'm going to go ahead and make a cover like I was making an album. So I'm using chipboard. Now my cover will be covered with, it's this real pearlescent, it's the Country Craft Creations paper, but it's got a pearl sheen to it. And I'm using that, but I am going to go back and add things on top. Like I plan on using fabrics. I think this will be kind of neat if I put, I'm going to move this off to the side. I kind of work and think at the same time. So I think this will be good. And then if I add some colors, some pinks and different things, but I really like the look, if it was on the right way, the look of that. So let's see what ends up happening. But I am going to go ahead and make my cover. So I'm using 2 6x9s and a 3x9. And so I'm just going to cover it like it was a normal album. So I'm going to go ahead and get my papers ready. So I'm going to place this on my scoreboard. I want a 1-inch border on all 4 sides. So this is 1 inch on the top and the bottom, or on the top and the side. So that will make 1 inch on all 4 sides. This tool can be found at Country Craft Creations. I did put the backing on my cover. I am going to wrap these covers separately, and then I will combine them. So I'll wrap each one, and then I will combine those to the spine. Okay, so let's do the next 6x9 the same way. So if the chipboard is 6x9, the paper is 8x11. So I have 2 pieces that are 8x11. Now when I do this, if you're following along and you think, oh, I want to make this, you might want to have a notebook handy if that helps you, because I don't type up the measurements in the description box. It's just very, very time consuming. And I do have a full-time job. But you can also pause it and, go back and look at it several times. A lot of times I'll put sticky notes on. But with a junk journal, the measuring is kind of just whatever you have, because you're using a lot of things that you have in your stash. So measurements are not as important when you're doing a junk journal, in my opinion. The next one is for the spine. Now my spine is 3x9, so this paper is 6x11. So when you do your spine pieces, you want your wings to be 1.5 inches on each side of the chipboard rather than just 1. So for this piece, I'm not going to use that yellow tool. I'm going to use a 1.5 inch border and a 1 inch border at the top, like that. Okay, so you always go 3 inches more than your spine piece. I have my spine piece cut. I have pieced together some of my score tape here. I like using score tape on my cover rather than using glue. It's probably a personal preference, so you use whatever you want. When I use fabric, I usually use some sort of Mod Podge. So it just kind of depends on what works best for you. And this is one of those things that I kind of, like I said, work as I go. And I don't always have a plan in my head, which can sometimes get me in trouble. But I'm not even really sure yet how I'm going to attach that lace and all that. So we'll just see what happens. But again, I feel okay doing that because it is a junk journal. So I can make anything work. Even if I consider what I've done a mistake, it can be fixed. So that is the joy of junk journals, in my opinion. So then we're just going to go ahead and burnish the 4 sides as we wrap the paper around the chipboard. If you already know how to make the lay flat method cover from watching Tammy or other designers' videos, you can skip through this part if you want. And then just join us back when we have the cover put together. So you're going to want 1/4 inch score tape. You're going to want some art glitter glue. I am going to also be cutting at an angle to get rid of that square in the corner where they overlap. So I have a tool, but you don't have to have this tool. Just cut at a diagonal at an angle, but don't go all the way to the chipboard corner. Give yourself a little bit of space outside of that. So let me show you when I cut this. This is just a guide for me so that I always cut the right amount and I don't accidentally cut too much, because we don't want to see the corner of the chipboard. So you can see I have about 1/8 of an inch away from that corner, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut all 4 corners. And I'm going to do that to both pieces while I have this little handy dandy tool out. I do not do this to my spine though. I do that different. So let's go ahead. I like to do my bending and creasing first before I use the tool or miter my corners. No particular reason. I just have gotten in the habit of doing it that way. Okay. So again, leaving about a 1/8 inch gap. Now, a lot of you use Tammy Merrill's method, which is awesome. And rather than cut at an angle, you cut the square out on each corner. And you just, that one you do cut to the corner of the chipboard. But I do it this way. Except for on my spine. Isn't that weird? Okay, let me throw away these scraps. So with the 1/4 inch score tape, I go ahead and I place it around the perimeter of the chipboard and the paper because I want a good hold. So I'm going to put on all 4 sides on my chipboard. I remember the red line tape is really good too, but I do like the convenience of just being able to rip the score tape and not having to cut it. To me, it's a time saver, and they both are very good adhesives. And sometimes I use a tool just to kind of make sure I cut the tape evenly and nice and smooth. On this part, it doesn't matter to me. Okay, anytime you use the red line tape or the score tape, make sure that once you place it, that you go through with your bone folder so that when you take the backing off, that tape stays where it's supposed to. So this is the back cover. After you make enough journals, these covers go really fast. If you still make your covers by combining your paper into one long piece, more power to you. I didn't mind doing it that way either, but sometimes on the bigger albums, whew, that was hard to work with that long of a piece of paper. So it's kind of nice doing the covers separately. It just makes it a little bit more convenient and easy to manage. All right. Okay, so now I always do the long sides first. Here it is. So I'll take the backing off. I'm going to go ahead and take the sides off too on the chipboard. Okay. And when we do this method, just like any other time you're doing a cover, you want to put the glue up against the chipboard so that when we wrap the paper around, it will have a strong, firm hold, and it'll be nice and smooth because the glue will kind of soak in to the paper, and it just gives it a cleaner, smoother edge. Okay, so I've put glue up against the chipboard and in between my score tape and my chipboard. I don't really put any of the glue on my tape, but a lot of people do. And then I just kind of start in the middle and branch my hands outward to make sure that it gets laid down smoothly. To me, the cover's the first thing you see, and so you want to make sure that it looks the nicest, in my opinion. Any excess glue you want to get rid of. And then you're going to take your scoring tool and go along the edge, and look at how smooth that is. That's what we're looking for. So I'll do the opposite side. I've always done opposite sides first. Again, probably doesn't make a difference, but that's just how I do it. Okay, just kind of letting it sit just for a second, just to kind of soak into that paper a little bit. I start in the middle, and then I branch my hands outward and smooth it. I also think it's easier to get a smooth cover like this using the lay flat method. It was not always as easy to bring that paper over with it being very long, and to bring it over and get it smooth because it was such a long piece. So that's one of the things I really like about this method too. Okay, so right now you can see it's kind of not ripply, but there's little bumps here and there from the glue. So I just take this, slide it across, and with this paper it's so easy because there's a sheen to it. But now it's nice and smooth. So because I do my corners with a mitered cut, I do have a little excess here that I tuck around the corner. So I push down and in on those corner pieces that are that little bit of excess. Okay. I don't know. I have a little piece of... This doesn't matter. Okay, so then go ahead and put your glue on. So now when I bring this over, I am going to keep my fingers on the corners just to make sure that they don't accidentally go back out. I want them to stay on the inside here and lay down smoother. I love this paper. I love anything with a little bling, a little pearl, a little, you know, shine to it. And then run that across. Let's do the opposite side, and then that's how you do both the front and the back cover. I got a little excess glue coming out there. So I'll probably just do, I don't know, maybe I'll do both instead of stopping the video and starting. Sometimes it's easier just to work all the way through. All right. Tucking that down, bringing it over. And smooth. So there is one. It's just so nice, so smooth. I love it. I would use this paper on everything that, I don't know what she calls it, shimmer maybe? I don't know, but I would use it on every book, but obviously some papers don't go well with it. If it's more of a fun pattern that's more for kids or something, I wouldn't use this. I would use the matte colored, or the matte finish. Okay. But I'm sure you can see how fast this goes. Just letting it sit for a second, soak in that glue, soften up the paper a little bit. Up and over. I really like using this burnishing, the no, what do you call that stuff? Teflon. Especially on this paper, it just glides across there. But I just like the feel of the Teflon anyway. And this angle is ergonomic, I guess, is what they call it. So it's comfortable. And it gets a larger amount at once. It's not one of those narrow ones. I have so many different bone folders, though, and scoring tools that... Yeah, you know, you got, when you have new things come out, you got to try them all, see which one you like. And I have done that. The thing that I've done that with the most that I hate and that I still haven't found the best one is a paper cutter. I tell you what, I have bought so many different ones. If my husband knew, he'd probably freak out. I have bought, let's see, of bigger ones. I have guillotine, I have the rotary, I have the blade, you know, just, oh my gosh, let me count in my head. And I have different sizes, some smaller, some bigger. So let's see, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I've sold some because I didn't, ended up not liking them. I think I'm at least a dozen, maybe more. I finally think I have found the guillotine one that I like. Maybe. I mean, I haven't used it that long, so I'm giving it more time before I decide. I have found, though, that I don't always get a straight cut with the guillotine like I thought I would, because sometimes the paper slides. And I don't know if it's me or if I don't know. It could be me, that's for sure. And I also use different cutters for different purposes. Obviously, for chipboard, you might use one type. For paper, another. Large paper versus small paper. I don't know. I'd rather have the tool here and not use it very often than to need it once in a while and not have it, I guess. At least that's my thinking. You notice I am pushing down those corners. I'm pushing them in and down around the corner. Nothing worse than seeing that chipboard poke through on a corner. Take off the backing. Holding down the corners and flipping it over. I do like the look of the angle here, even though you end up covering up a lot of it with paper. I like the look of it. Okay, front and back cover are done. Nice, nice, nice. So let's do our middle piece, our, what do you call it? Hinge, the spine. So this one we do differently. Let's go ahead though and fold it over the chipboard and burnish it so that the paper knows where it's going to end up needing to be and how it's going to be working. So as I'm doing this tutorial, I'm actually home alone. My husband and daughter went somewhere, and I have determined and decided that I feel much more comfortable making a video when they're not here. I feel like they're listening in and like laughing at me, or I'm sure they're not, but I just am so self-conscious when I know somebody's here and I'm talking to myself down here in my craft room. So I feel much more comfortable and laid back when I can do this with no extra ears around. Oops, I got to cut. So I'm going to grab my scissors here. We do the spine piece different. I have rectangles on all 4 corners. I snip those at an angle. I take out a triangle by going from the score to the corner. And I'm going to do that on all 4 sides, or all 4 corners. That takes out some of the bulk. People do this part differently also. This is the way that works best for me. All right, I only put tape on the short ends. Okay, now I am going to flip this over and just kind of train it. Usually I do this on the front and back cover too, but this paper is so shiny and slippery that it wrapped around the chipboard with no problem. I didn't have to do this indentation. The reason why I'm doing it always on the spine piece is because you're going to be resting 2 pieces of chipboard on top, and you want it to be able to bump up against the chipboard in the right spot. So that's why I do it on the spine always. Okay. So what we do is we're going to place glue just on the end here. This section right here ended up being a trapezoid once you cut off the sides here. So I fill in glue up against the chipboard, inside, in between the chipboard and the tape, on even those little triangles on the end. And I'm going to bring a little bit up on the side, about a 1/2 inch. Okay. So we're going to bring that up and over, just like the other one. And now I like to go up against the chipboard and straight out, and the excess glue will come out. That's what I want anyway. Straight out. Okay. So I go up against the chipboard, straight out. Yuck, now I have glue on my hands, but that's no surprise. Go ahead and repeat that process on the other end. A little bit on each side. I'm going to tuck it up against the chipboard, straight out. I'm going to have to clean my scoreboard when I'm done here, getting all that glue on there. Okay, just want to make sure it's down real well. So now we do want to miter so that we don't have any paper. Oopsie, I forgot to do I think I did that one. We're going to slightly miter by resting our scissors up against the chipboard and doing an angled cut. And we do that on all 4 sides also. Okay, so I'm going to now just make sure, once again, to burnish my paper near the chipboard to give it that indentation. So you can make a junk journal with those large business clasp envelopes if you want a soft cover. I've done that before. But because I'm using 3 signatures, I like the durability of having the chipboard cover. All right, so let me put my pin in my glue. And now we're going to attach the front and back cover to our spine piece. I use 3 pieces of score tape on each side, or on each wing. 1 near the bottom, 1 in the center, and 1 near the top, but not all the way to the chipboard. I leave a space. I use a combination of the glue with the score tape also on this part. And again, I don't go all the way to the chipboard at the top. I will put in a little bit of glue instead. All right, so then I like to do just a real quick dry fit to make sure that they do, yeah, they line up just great. Okay, so I'll do this one first. So go ahead and remove that backing. Get your glue and just fill in between your tape. And then I'm just going to put a fine line at the top here. That glue will spread out a little bit once we put the cover on. Flip it over. Okay, that looks good. Almost done here with that cover. And then we'll start talking about how to attach our signatures to the spine. There's different ways of doing that. Some people they attach it to a piece of chipboard and then add it to their book so that it's like a separate piece kind of. I want it all to be attached into one. So I attach it to the chipboard that is actually attached to my book. I don't have an extra piece that I put on the inside. See how that looks. Nice. Okay. All right, so you can decide, I'm going to end up using a template for the holes that I am going to line up with my signatures. So I cut just a piece of scrap paper that is 3 by 9, which is the height and width of my spine. And this is what I will use to make sure I get my lines in the right spot, and my holes in the right spot on my spine in my book. Okay. So I am going to go ahead and cover this with some paper. I'm trying to decide if I want to use paper from the collection or if I want to use just more of that shiny paper. Let me think here. I think I might go with, let's see, what do I have? You know what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at what I have left over. So, you know what? I think I'm going to end up using the shiny paper because this is 8.5 wide and my book is 9. So normally I would do 8 7/8. So I don't really like all that much border, but I don't think I'll mind it as much on the sides here because I can decorate and cover that up. Let's see. Yeah, unless I go a different direction with my paper. Like if I were to do this, that might be okay. I like that little bit of green in there. Ooh, I hate wasting this side though. It's so pretty. Let me see if I have another one that I can spare. Oh, they're all so pretty. Well, should I do this? Maybe. You're not going to see it that much once. You know what? Being you're not going to see it that much, I'm going to save my pretty paper and I'm just going to use the shiny paper. So I want it to be about 6 inches, I believe. Let's see here. I've already got this one, and this one is 6. So we want 6 by 8 7/8. And the reason why we make it so wide is we kind of want to cover up the wings just so it lays a little bit flatter. And now I will tell you that when I attach this, I don't use glue, I use score tape. So I'm going to get out my handy dandy big old roll. And if I have a 6-inch roll, and I'm just going to use this. This is the easiest way for me to do it. And I hope I line it up right. If not, I'll have to do some fixing. And let's trim that off. I'll have to check it to see if I have any overhang of that tape. Right here I do, where I didn't line it up exactly right. So it doesn't matter. There is a little bit of excess tape on that side, but it doesn't matter. I just didn't want any on the top or bottom. This will be covered with paper, so I can live with it. Okay, so let's go ahead and put this on. So when we put our signatures in and we poke holes, it's going through several layers. So that's why I use an awl. Now I used one awl for the spine, or excuse me, the signatures that came with that new little cradle I had to put the holes in there. But I also have this one that's more heavy duty. So this is the one I'm probably going to end up using for the chipboard to go through all that paper. I will tell you, you will get a little bit of glue and gummy on this that we can just wipe off later, but don't be surprised if you're using that happens. All right, let me take the backing off. Maybe, there we go. Okay, and I want to cover up those 2 wings. Okay. This, by not using glue, it just makes it much more smooth. Okay, so that's going to make our book way more durable. So I just kind of bring that page up, or that cover up, and push the paper into the little crevice there. Okay. All right. So there is, it's going to be chunky. We have a 3-inch spine, so we have room to decorate with laces and stuff. I mean, that's pretty big. Usually I add some sort of seam binding that I have, you know, crinkled up in my hands with water as some sort of closure, rather than a magnet. I don't do that in my junk journals. All right, so while I'm at it, do I want to add my paper on the inside. So remember, this is a little bit shorter than what I would normally use, but I can always add something to the bottom when I'm decorating, or a pocket even. So I don't care that it doesn't go all the way to the bottom. I just hate wasting this paper though. Oof. Let's see what I have. I was going to use this on the front cover because we're going to have lace on top of it. I might do it that way. And I might put, all these decisions. I don't know. I'm thinking ahead too much. Okay. Let's find what we want to put on the inside. So we could use this. I don't want it to be roses. Yeah, I think this is what I'm going to end up with. And I'm going to have to use 2 pieces though, because I need 5 7/8 or 6 inches, and this is not 12 inches, it's 11. So I'm going to have, unless I put it in the center and mat it first. Let me think. All right, I'll be back. I got to do some thinking. Okay, I did some thinking, and this is what I came up with. So first of all, I did go around with my inker and used a brown to kind of make the corners look aged. So I did that. It doesn't have to be nice and neat because I'm going to be putting stuff on top. So I just kind of went around and roughed up with ink so that it had that aged look. I did put on the paper for the outside spine. Now my book is 9 inches and the paper's 8.5. So what I did was I put the 8.5, this is a 3-inch spine. My spine, I went ahead and did 3 inches across. I don't take 1/8 of an inch off because it will go side to side the way we build this book. But then I had about 1/2 inch left. I was like, I don't want that showing, even though I'll probably have lace or something. So all I did was just cut off a little inch piece, glued that down first, and then put this on top. You'll never notice this once we have it decorated, but I did want to have it covered. So that was my fix. Now on the inside, I wanted to kind of think, okay, well, I have that problem again with the length of the paper. So what I decided was I cut some of this eyelet, no, what do you call this? Is it eyelet lace? I don't know. Anyway, I cut that and I'm going to have it hanging out from the bottom a little bit. And then I inked my paper and I'm going to put that on top. So you're not going to it's not going to be a big deal that it's a little bit short because that lace is going to take care of it. Okay. And I'm going to do the same on the front. I cut my lace and I inked my paper, and you're not even going to notice that it is a little bit short. Okay. So when I attach those, I'll make sure they're lined up correctly. But as of right now, that was my fix for having the paper a little bit short. And I think that'll look nice anyway. Now, there won't be any in the center that I know of, but I do have extra. So I'm trying to decide, would it look weird if I didn't have lace down here? So let me close the book and find out, because I never really thought about that. I don't think it matters. Or does it? Because if I do it, I'm going to have to do it now before I put the signatures in, I think. So on the side, yeah, maybe I will. No, I'm not. I'm going to live with it the way it is. If I regret it later, it's a junk journal. It's okay. So it's just going to be easier to work with this without that little piece of lace. So let's just go with this. Now, I am going to probably do the signatures before I put in the paper, because these signatures are a little bulky. This is not something that is super easy for me. It does require a little bit of thought. So let me show you how I am going to do the holes in my book. So I cut a piece of scrap paper that was 3 by 9, and I put it on my scoreboard, and the middle of 3 inches is 1.5. So I did a score mark on 1.5. Then I wanted the halfway mark between the beginning and the 1.5. So I put a 3/4 inch score, And then I wanted to find the middle between 1.5 and 3. So I did 2 1/4 and I did a score. So that this is where the signatures will be. And then they'll be evenly spaced out. Now I could not use the cradle to put the holes in because this spine is taller than my signatures. So if I were to place it in that cradle, it would not, you would have had the book either too high or too low. So what I did was I laid this down and I'm going to clip it in. And I don't know, there could be an easier way. This has just worked for me, and I put it sideways. Now remember, I already poked the holes in my signatures. So then I laid this down on the center and decided, okay, how much space do I want at the top and the bottom? I lined it up, and all I did was put a pencil mark where those holes were. Okay? And now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to scoot it over, or maybe you can draw lines also. Like I could draw a straight line so that I would know where to put the circles or the holes. Straight line, then you could fill it in. Or I could keep just moving that over. Let's see what happens if I use a straight line, if I have an eye for straightness. Let's see. I need a pencil. It's a junk journal. I gotta keep telling myself that. It's a junk journal. It's okay if it's not perfect. So let's go ahead and okay, so then I know I'll need a dot here for a hole and here. Okay, let's do the next one. Okay, so a hole here and here. Now the middle one. I'm doing the same thing for all of them. And this is just my template, so it's okay that I'm adding all this pencil. I have to move that. Okay, so there's my template, whatever you want to call it. And I use my awl to punch the hole. Okay, you can use a hole punch, but I like this awl thing, I'm not gonna lie. So I usually have like a piece of styrofoam or something to put it under because it is, what do I have? I've got something, let me see. Well, I don't know what I did with it. Okay, it looks like I lied. I'll just stick this in. This is really sharp, so I don't have a problem. Okay, and I'm going to keep doing that. That hole's a little bit bigger, but that's okay. Just don't want to have my hand get in the way. Now, if you are an expert junk journal maker, you feel free to give suggestions in the comment box. Just be nice about it. And I would love to hear your advice or if you do something different. Okay, so as a template then, I still have to punch the holes through here. And you notice I didn't do that. I just made my template first. So here's what I do. And again, you do what works for you. So now I'm going to use the holes to make a pencil mark on the page. Just like so. And then I have this template for the next book that I make. Okay, so you can see the lines or the little dots. And now I'm going to punch a hole through all the layers. Okay, so you have to kind of push a little bit. There are a lot of layers. This is a heavyweight chipboard. It's not the lightweight. So I'm going to place the point in. You kind of go back and forth. And I'm not going to go all the way through because, I went all the way through, but I'm not going to push it all the way through because it does get thicker as it goes to the top. So that went through. Now remember, I'm going to have lace or a doily or something covering this. So I'm not that worried if things don't turn out exactly right, which is weird for me to say because normally I am kind of weird about having it turn out exactly the way it's supposed to. Okay. And remember, you're going to get a little gummy on your needle because there is glue on here. So now I have my 3 at the top, and I'm going to keep doing that. So I'll pause this so you don't have to watch me make all these holes. Okay, I put one signature in just to remind myself how to do it, and I didn't want to take forever on camera. And it did take me a little while, and I had to write myself a little note because we do the pamphlet stitch with the 5 holes. And when you don't do it for a long time, you do kind of have to refresh your memory. So I have my holes ready. I am leaving the clips on my book so that the pages stay where they're supposed to be. And to get, I don't even know what this is, but this is what I use to attach the books. It kind of reminds me of dental floss in a way. But you're going to do at least 3 lengths of your book. And I would rather have too much than not enough. So even though I say 3, I still do a hair more. Okay, so I've got my string or whatever it is. I don't even know. I just happen to have it. I do have a needle here that's got a large eye. And I think they're bookbinding needles maybe. Blunt point large eyelet needles. That's what they are. And it's ribbon threading needles, which is good because my eyes are not what they used to be. So sometimes it's hard for me to thread a needle. Okay. All right. So we are going to start. And I wonder if I should attach this. You know what? I'm going to just kind of make sure that this doesn't flap around. So I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to start by going down the center hole. So I'm going to go down my booklet and down through the spine. So I'm going to start by putting it through my book. And it just gets kind of obnoxious to kind of hold. So bear with me as I do this. So I'm going to put it down the hole of the center. And then I'm going to scoot that over. Now you want to leave a tail. So you don't want too much. Get that one out. You don't want too much, but I'd say about 5 to 6 inches. Okay. So once you go down the center, you are going to go up the next hole up from the center. Okay. So we'll go up through the next one. So I'm going to be flipping my book around a little bit here and there. I'm going to try and hold it in place, and I'm going to go up to the next one. And it is not always easy to find that hole, I'm just going to say. So I'm going to wiggle my needle around, try and get it through all the layers. There we go. Okay. So I have too much tail, but okay, you want to make sure that it's taut. Pull probably a little bit, okay? And now we're going to go, so my book's upside down, but now we're going to go down through the booklet into that top hole. So I want to make sure I get, ouch, I get through all the layers of the paper. And I'm going out the back. Okay, and you do want to keep checking front and back to make sure that things are tight like they're supposed to be. Okay. I don't want to get rid of any more of that tail. I need at least that much. Okay, so now I'm going to come up through the spine. Let's see, I went down, up, down. I'm going to go up through the fourth hole, the one right above the center. I'm going to go up that hole, and I don't want it to go through the string. I want it to go off the side. Now there are times where I attach the book, I stitch the book, and then I use seam binding to attach it to my cover by just wrapping it, because sometimes that's easier for me. Okay, so I went up, and now it's time to go down, and I'm going to skip the middle hole and go down to the second to the last hole at the bottom. Okay, I got through all the layers. It's much easier going down through the book than up through the spine. I'll tell you that right now. Okay. So I'm making it tight, making sure that I pull it as I go, because it can get confusing as to how to pull it tight. Okay, and up through that bottom hole. You gotta find where it is, right there. Come on, get through all the papers. I'm trying to wait. There we go. Okay. Okay, so I need to make sure things are staying tight. Okay, now I'm going to go down. I went up through this the spine, so now I'm going to go down that second to the last hole. And there's already a stitch in there. I just got to make sure I go all the way through. Pull it. And now the only thing we have to do is, see, we have one, oh, sorry, oh my goodness. We have one spot missing, so I have to go back through the center and out that hole. And I'm trying to find, let me look. Sorry, I know this is obnoxious to try and show you. Trying to go up through that hole. Trying to find, there it is. Okay, so I'm going to take my needle off. I want to look to make sure it's tight on the other side, and it is. I'm going to bring this string over to the other side, and I'm going to tie a double knot. 1, 2, and I am going to leave some longer strings for right now, so that if I decide I want to add something to the end, that it's long enough for me to attach it. Okay, so now let's take a look. So so now I'm going to fold those or push them together. And so now this is what I have so far. Let me take off this clip. Okay. And now I need to do the last one. And I'll do it the same exact way. But now I'm going to attach these two to keep them from flopping around. And I'll put one here to keep it from flopping around. And now I'll do the same thing with the last insert. Okay. So I wrote this down. This might help you if for the stitching. Go down the center. You come back up. Let's number these. Let's number this hole 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. So you go down hole 3, leaving a tail. You go up the second hole. You go down the top hole. Then you come back up the second hole and down the fourth hole. Come up the bottom fifth hole. Go down the fourth hole and come back up the third hole, and then you can tie it off. So hopefully that will help you to hear it and to see it maybe on this paper. Okay, so I'm going to add my third insert, and then I'm going to add my inside papers, and then we'll start talking about decorating by adding lace on the edge and looking at the cutouts that came with the collection and just kind of looking for my little scraps of ephemera. All right, let's get moving.